right, welcome to another episode of the Final Percent Podcast. And I have got one of my very favorite people that I've met, and he's turned into one of my very best friends, Mr. Bob Snyder himself. Where are we?
Well, we're in Cancun, Mexico.
And
yes.
And the last time we did a podcast, we had just gotten back from where?
We just got back from Kenya, Africa, which was an incredible adventure.
And in between those two places, we made a pit stop at Costa Rica.
We did go to Costa Rica. We did.
And we've been to D.C. and Chicago and Salt Lake and Denver.
Florida.
You know, we just keep running into each other, man.
I know, and it's been fantastic.
It has been fantastic, and it's going to continue to be fantastic. One of the big things that I think I want to talk about is just the experience of community.
Yeah.
Because you have built one of my very favorite communities I've ever had the privilege of being a part of in the Renatus Corporation, and watching the lives that are being changed. We're at the Leaders Retreat in Cancun, and having these conversations with people, it just goes to show the butterfly effect is real.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I was going to tell you is I'm having conversations with people, and you know, Linda Williams, I'll pick on her for a second. She came up, she gave me a huge hug, and she said, when I came to the regional in Phoenix, I was all self-conscious.
Yeah.
And I gave you a hug and said, I'm sorry, I think I talked too much and I shared too much and I this. And she said, you told me, no, keep going. The world needs to hear your story. And she said, you saved my life in that moment.
Yeah.
I had no idea that even happened.
Yeah.
And so it goes to show this butterfly effect. I don't know if you've noticed, all over this hotel, there's butterflies everywhere. There's these butterfly wings you can take pictures in front of. There's butterflies painted on most of the walls. And Renatus really is about the butterfly effect. So you made a decision, butterfly flapping its wings, and now we've got tens of thousands of people all over the country that are flapping their wings and changing lives. Seeing the people out there, and you know, we were just, you know, I was yelling at all the people in the pool, and I yelled Renatus, and they all yelled rocks right back. What is it like building a community and then hearing about the butterfly flapping its wings, and then that person changed this person's life and this person's life? And what is that like, building an organization like this and the community?
It's a fulfillment of my dream. Mm-hmm. Now, you know, dreams are interesting because your goals and your hopes and your dreams and your whys, they change as you age. I mean, you know, when I first became a young budding entrepreneur, my whole why was, man, I want financial security. I want to spend more time with my family. I want to set my own schedule. I want to hang out with who I want to hang out with, rather than have a boss that is telling me what to do, when to do, and where to go, right? Yeah. And you know, that was my initial motivation for change and to become an entrepreneur. Now it's different. Yeah. I mean, I'm on the other side of life. Yeah. You know, I've gone through the entrepreneurial journey, and I don't worry about money anymore. Yeah. That's no longer a concern. You know, I mean, I get the time with my family that I absolutely love and cherish. My why now has completely transformed into creating a lasting legacy, a contribution for others to enjoy.
Yes.
It's trying to help everybody to have, I love that example, the butterfly effect. And not just for themselves, but that butterfly effect then goes out and has a ripple across time and space that changes the lives of others. Yeah. So when I get together at an event like this, and folks are there to share their stories of success, the real estate deals they're doing, you know, the people's lives that they have influenced and changed, the expansion of the community that they've been engaged with, the compensation from our plan that they've been able to enjoy. Man, that is the reward of rewards. That's what warms my heart and fills my soul. Yeah.
And I think it's just so interesting, you know, I think the butterfly is such a powerful analogy to use, because that's really what it's all about, is sharing your story and giving people hope to know that it is actually possible. Because I think you and I can agree that we live in the must be nice age. Yeah. Because people are there's someone out here, you're watching this video, and you're like, oh, you guys are at the top floor of some resort in Cancun. Must be nice. It is. It's actually really nice. Like, the room is cool, the resort is cool. Here's the difference. We want you here. And Michael Huggins did a great training. I thought he just did a fantastic job. He talked about unless or until.
Yeah.
And a lot of people out there are excuse driven. So they're like, oh, I can't do that because this. So you say you want these dreams unless this happens, unless this happens. And I think that's the biggest difference is we are hanging out with a bunch of until people.
Yeah.
They're saying, I'm going to do this until it works. I'm going to do this until I change my family's stars. And watching the respect that the community gives you, and I think just as important, the respect that you give the community. How important do you think it is? Because, you know, I've studied leadership for a long time. I've helped so many corporations do leadership and culture setting. And the biggest indicator of incredible leadership is the respect from the team and the community. What are some of your strategies and principles that provide the respect from them, but also I watch you respect them just as much? It's such an incredible symbiotic relationship.
Well, and you nailed it. It is a symbiotic relationship. Because this is my dream, they're catching the vision that I created is the fulfillment of that dream.
Yeah.
And I wake up every day in gratitude.
Yeah.
I wake up every day in gratitude because what we do in Renatus would not exist were it not for them.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it really is that relationship that brings us both together in a pretty amazing and interdependent way.
Yeah.
You know, not a dependent way, but an interdependent way.
Yeah.
I love the relationship with our people, and it's all about driving success. And one of the things that we do in this company is it's all about student outcomes.
Yes.
I want to make darn good and sure that these folks get all the tools and the systems and the knowledge necessary that they can go out and drive success. And I know that everybody's on their own timeline.
Yeah.
Some people can't be rushed to the finish line. They have to finish, you know, at their own pace. So we give them the latitude to grow during that period of time. Some of them become wildly successful in their first year or two. Some of them, it's 5 or 6 or 10 years down the road that they finally have that personal breakthrough, where able to get past all of their pre-programming from their past and move forward to success. But I know that if we don't lock them in for the long haul, they're never going to have that result.
Exactly.
So for me, you know, the culture we've created is nothing more than an expression of my gratitude for them. And I've found that if I'm grateful for them, I respect them, they reciprocate in kind, and that creates a bond of interdependency and appreciation that stands the test of time.
Well, and I think that you nail it with the appreciation. I think appreciation is actually the competitive advantage of the human race. And people have lost the ability, because, you know, I tell a lot of people, you know, a dog can love, a dog can hate, a dog can, you know, get mad, but a dog can't appreciate the fact that, you know, you work for a certain amount of time, you stop at a store, you buy the right kind of food that you researched, and then you put it in a bowl, and then you hide it from the dog because it's too stupid not to overeat.
Right.
It just goes, you gave me food, I love you. But it can't appreciate what went into that thought and the action. And when we really lead with appreciation, there's things that are exponential that start to happen that I think are so prevalent in this community that a lot of people, they think it's kind of weird when they first come in, because they're like, wait, people like each other? Wait, people appreciate each other? Wait, people tell the truth? And I tell this all the time. I say, you know, it took me 2.5 years to get linked up with Renatus because I was waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Right.
I kept saying no because I know. I know that it's not what you say. There's no way. And, you know, and that goes, you know, with someone I respect, obviously Sharon Lechter, watching the amount of respect she has for you, the education system you've put in. And if you listen to the words that he said, the systems and the tools and the knowledge for you to go do the work. So to be very clear, this is not a silver bullet.
Right.
Nothing in life is a silver bullet.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to do the work. It's just going to give you a lot less bumps along the way. And it's so much easier to do it with people.
It is, and here's another thing that we infuse into our culture. It's teaching them correct principles. Correct principles. Principles are timeless. Principles are truths. You know, they're not fads. They're not, you know, something for the moment. They're not self-serving.
Yeah.
You know, they're something that is more about a team concept. So we teach them correct principles, but it comes back to this. Cooperation looks like this.
Yeah.
Competition looks like this.
Oh, that's good.
Inside of our community, it's all about cooperation.
That's true. Well, and you know, I was just talking to Bob about this before. Is like, you know, I had some of my friends saying, hey, like, what are you doing down at the Renatus Leaders Retreat? Like, are they, because I mean, I'm a speaker. I go around the country. After this, I'm going to be in Salt Lake. Then I go over to Phoenix and I'm doing the paid speaking thing. And people are saying, oh, they're paying you to go down there. No, I'm paying to go down there. I bought my own plane tickets. I wasn't speaking. I bought my own room, and of course I upgraded because I'm bougie. But I did that because proximity. I wanted to get around the people. I want to hang out with you as much as possible. I want to hang out with the community as much as possible, and I want the community to know I'm in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
I'm not in it because and that's one of the things I love about you. And you know, coming in, looking from the outside, looking in, you know, there's no hired guns.
Yeah.
There's no, like, he has never been like, hey, Greg, here's a bunch of money. This is what I want you to say. If I'm ever on camera, he turned on the camera and said, Greg, you know, just speak your truth. And I'm like, it's so refreshing. Like, I don't know why we live in an era where that way of doing business is so weird, but it really is refreshing. So some of the things that I want to ask, well, I have three things. Number one, what is your big takeaway of this leaders retreat? What's your favorite? Is there a moment that comes to mind, a takeaway that comes to mind? Is there a specific action, a breakthrough? You know, what comes to mind when, if you had that one moment you were going to tell someone when you got back home, what is that moment?
Oh my goodness. I don't know how I define one.
Yeah.
Let me talk about a few, because I can't ever narrow it down to one. I mean, it's like the one. I mean, that's like which of my children do I love most, right? I mean, how do you define that? But I loved what you said yesterday, because you got up just for a few minutes to talk about, you know, an event that you were doing, your regional training.
By the way, October 6th and 7th, this podcast is coming out tomorrow. If you want to go, I want you to DM me. I want you to email Greg at The Final Percent, Owen at The Final Percent, Salo at The Final Percent, whoever you need to get to get your butt in a seat there, because we want to change your life. We want to introduce you to what we're doing. But the Denver Regional is coming, and it is going to be a blast. So there's my shameless promotion.
And it's a great promotion. I'm fine with that shameless promotion. That's wonderful. Because during that promotion yesterday, what you said was you gave the lesson of proximity. You just mentioned that a minute ago.
Exactly.
I'm telling you, that had a profound impact on me, because I've lived by the law of association.
Yeah.
You know, one of my early on mentors, Mark Victor Hansen, we were in Acapulco, Mexico. This was years ago, when it was actually safe to go to Acapulco, Mexico.
Yep.
And I was sitting there at the dinner table with Bob Proctor and with Mark Victor Hansen, and we were having a great conversation. And you know, Mark really impressed that upon me. I was a young budding entrepreneur at that point.
Yeah.
And he said, Bob, you want to change your life, you change your friends.
Yeah.
Change your life, you change your friends, because your net worth will greatly be influenced and in many times determined by your network.
Exactly.
Right? And I've locked onto that, and I've lived by that. He even gave me a challenge. He says, I'm going to challenge you. He says, you ought to add a millionaire to your Rolodex. Rolodex.
That's the thing that you spin, and it has cards that flip up in case
what
you don't know what it is.
Rolodex.
That's your contact list.
Your contact list, your database, yes. But you know, he said you ought to add a millionaire to your Rolodex every single month and a billionaire to your Rolodex every single year.
Yeah.
And I've never forgotten the lesson because surrounding myself with like-minded entrepreneurs has been the number one contributing to my success.
Amen.
And to so many of the blessings I've received. I love that positive association.
Yeah.
You reframed it yesterday with the concept of proximity.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, man, I love that.
Yeah.
That was a takeaway.
Yeah.
You know, when Woody Woodward was teaching folks about the Drive system and
Yeah.
everything he's developed there, Drive is one of the most revolutionary ways to
I
communicate, sell,
absolutely agree.
you know, build relationships, forge bonds. I mean, it's profound. And he linked that to growth mindset
And
versus a fixed
Yep.
mindset. Now, listen, I've read the book. I mean, you know, on growth mindset, fixed mindset,
Carol
the whole
Dweck,
darn things.
yep.
Yes, I love what she shared and you know the observations she made. I've trained on that at different times
Yeah.
in my own life. But when he put it together with Drive,
Yeah.
it was like, whoa.
Well, because it gets personal. You can
Yeah.
actually dive in and understand what it means for you. Because so much of personal growth is way too general.
Yeah.
It just gets way too general. And so, depending on, and if you don't know what Drive is, again, I want you to reach out to me so that I can introduce you to what Drive is and how it can help you. It's actually what got me, like, because Julie Dale, I mean, I got to give credit where credit's due. She brought these little cards, she threw them on a table, and she said, I just want you, what makes you feel the most important? And I'm like, what are you trying to do? I'm the coach. What are
Yeah.
you trying to do? But I looked at him, I'm like, this is different. It really is different. And I've gotten to, I mean, we went to we made a stop in Moab.
Oh yeah, we did. It was more than a stop. It was a week in Moab, and it was fantastic.
It was so fun. And I got to ride with Woody Woodward. And he is a speaker that I will tell this because again, I got to give credit where credit's due. Not this last nationals, but the one before that, the National Conference of Renatus. He gave one of the best speeches I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And this is not one of the best speeches I've watched on YouTube or one of the best speeches that I was at a conference or one that it doesn't matter who you are, where you're at. It was one of the best speeches that I think has ever been delivered. And his Drive system was that good. So I was already really excited to watch him, and boy, did he deliver. And then I got to find out who he was as a person. And just like so many things in Renatus, it gets better and better.
Yeah.
As Bob says a lot, he goes, you're like an onion. I just keep, like, there's
Peeling
layers.
back the
I keep
layers,
peeling it
man.
back.
Uh-huh.
But, and that's the proximity. You know, I had to move to, go to the national conference. I
Yeah.
had to move to accidentally go to Kenya. I had to move to be at the regionals. I had to move to put on different events. And I had to move to be a part of the organization. And most people are just, they don't want to move.
Right.
And proximity takes movement. You have to move. And so here's what Owen, when you listen to this back, name this one proximity, because our last podcast was move. And we've already linked.
That's great.
And we've
That's
already linked.
great.
You have to move to get to the proximity. That's why I love it. And this is completely unscripted. Neither one of us knew what we were going to talk about when we sat down. I just knew that the dots were going to connect. All right. So some more takeaways.
So anyway, I mean, when he shared that, it just really nailed it because Woody's always taught about external versus internal,
Yeah, so
and you're able
good.
to see that so easily when people talk about being genuine, when they talk
Yes.
about being authentic and,
Yeah.
and in touch with themselves. That
Yeah.
really is the internal aspect of
Exactly.
human emotion and human character as
Yeah.
well, right? And character, so by definition, in my world, character is who you are.
Yeah.
Skills is what you can do, right?
Yeah.
But character
Ooh,
is
that's
who
good.
you are. So internal is very much about your character, who you are, and who you're being.
Yeah.
External, well, that's a whole nother world. And unfortunately, in the world of training and seminars and speaking man, I see external whitewashed everywhere. And that is shallow, self-centered. I
Yep.
mean,
Status.
Status. I mean, my goodness, I want to vomit with some of this status.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've taught my leaders over the years is that external versus internal thing.
Yeah.
I've said, listen, I've never met a successful person who who didn't have an ego.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
But the good ones, the ones that are really going internal instead of external, they know how to keep it in check.
Yes.
They know how to keep it in check.
Yeah,
And-
I mean, we all have an ego. I think it was, I'm not even going to try to remember the book because I'll probably misquote it. But there's a book out there, and they say that ego stands for edging God out.
I love that, man. That is so
And
perfect.
he says that you think you are so good at who you are and what you do that you don't need God's help, and therefore you leave him no room to perform miracles on your behalf and in your life.
That's perfect.
And I was like, I got some self-reflecting to do, because when I read that, I knew that God was nudging me a little bit, being like, Greg,
Yeah.
it's time to knock it down a couple pegs so
Right.
that I can help you. Like, I've got
Yeah.
your back. And so, yes, I completely agree. I think ego used, properly, yes, it can be a motivating force. Sure, it's there, but you got to remember, when it gets too big, God can't help you.
Yeah.
And I think that, we've got to recognize that, there's some extra help that is happening. I love the other saying, coincidence is God's way of staying anonymous.
Right.
So, allow for those the Bob Ross moments. Allow for the happy accidents to happen in your life.
You know what? And seeing how, you so timely brought God into the conversation, can I share with you a little secret?
Yes.
I've been very religious man for, most of my life.
Yeah.
I served a 2-year mission for my church early in my youth, and it transformed my life and really has helped me to want to stay close to him and to do his will. But I've noticed something, that even though I am very loyal to my religious beliefs and to my church, because I love the structure and I love what's being taught there and the community that I
Yeah.
get. I've noticed there's an awful lot of folks out there, man. They just don't want religion in their life. They don't want that structure in their life. So when I talk about creating correct principles, right? I'm trying to really just take the principles I've learned in church, God's principles, and I'm infusing those into my business in a way that allows folks to draw nearer to God without having to be preachy, without having to teach from the scriptures, I'm teaching them correct principles, because I'm concerned about our country and a lot of countries around the world that I see where the decline in any kind of religious affiliation or attendance is starting to gain momentum.
Yeah.
And that's where we get character training.
100%.
Character training. You come to a business to get skills training, you're right? You go to college to get skills and training, but where are they getting character training?
Yeah.
I've just tried to infuse that into our business so that at least some of that can rub off, and in the process, they can understand that living a wholesome life, living a life in integrity, actually gives them more joy and more fulfillment.
And for all the young people out there who are in the comparative reality, I'm 38, so I still find a lot of people, certainly in their early 30s, but a lot of people in their 20s that are still driven by status and stuff.
Yes.
Yes. I will tell you, having a life of integrity and doing it the right way and building that foundation, you will get more stuff and status if it's built the right way. So if that is what you're driving for, build it the right way and let that be a byproduct. And I think that's one of the things that, I talk a lot about, I heard Zig Ziglar say early on, you have to be before you can do, you have to do before you can have. I've since changed that to be plus do equals have.
Yeah.
So who you are and what you do equals what you have. Therefore, your stuff and your status is a byproduct.
It is a byproduct. It's well said.
And we cannot show up to, I've got almost a $4 million house, and I tell this to everyone all the time. If I would have shown up in Denver saying, I want a $4 million house, I would still be working for it because I was doing everything to have that. But no, I just became someone who did something to byproduct that house.
Yeah.
And that's what, in so many ways, Renatus teaches you how to do. and you can set your life up on autopilot through all the different things, like from infinite banking to understanding your credit, business credit, to understanding like, creative acquisitions, all of these things that I remember I was a little overwhelmed because I'm like, wait, I thought I was already, I thought that when I was getting into real estate, I thought there was like 10 ways to get into it. There's like 1,000.
Yeah, there are.
And you really, really want to have people who've done it before, and you want to have that blueprint. You want to have the right way to do it. And, everyone, again, you might be starting out with the $50,000 house or, the $5 million house. It doesn't matter. Everyone's going to start out somewhere different. But wherever you start, you want to build the foundation, and you want to start the right way.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, with the correct principles, with integrity, and then you just go share what you've done. It's not hard.
And that's the key word. You share. Yeah. You don't sell what you've done.
Yeah.
You share what you've done.
Exactly.
And the reason why you're sharing what you've done is hopefully it will be instructional to others, if not inspirational, so that they want to follow a similar path.
I always say the hope starts and faith finishes. So a lot of people are going to get into a business, or they're going to get into Renatus, they're going to get into real estate, they're going to get into an entrepreneurial lifestyle because they have hope that their life is going to be different.
Yeah.
But somewhere along the way, they lose faith.
Right.
And I remember when I was talking to my pastor, and I will never forget this moment. He said, God says that the only thing that will make him move is faith.
Yeah.
So if you lose faith, you stop moving.
Right.
You don't get the proximity to your dreams. You don't get proximity to what's going to change. And so you have to learn to keep the faith. And I'm not saying this, maybe somewhere out there people are like, man, Greg, stop talking about God. No, like, have faith in yourself. Have faith in integrity. Have faith in the principles of people who've done it before. Because faith is the only thing that's going to get this stuff to move. And I love, our mutual friend, Sharon Lecter, she has 3 Feet from Gold.
Right.
Great book with Greg Reed. And so many companies and people and relationships stop 5 minutes before the miracle. And
they do.
You just got to keep going.
Yeah. You've heard the old adage, man, and I've always loved this expression that you got to have your ship in the water if you're, or I should say, a rising tide. That's what it is. A rising tide raises all ships.
Yes.
I've added to it.
Yes.
Yeah, but you've got to have your ship in the water if you're going to get the rise of the tide.
Oh, that's good.
Right?
That's
because
good.
I've always thought that. I thought, rising tide does raise all ships.
Yeah,
but what if yours is...
What if your boat's not in the water?
Not in the water. I mean, it's not going to happen for you, man.
Oh, that's good.
If it's sitting in the garage, if it's in the dry dock, it's not going to do any good for you. You got to have your ship in the water if you're going to get the rise of the tide. And that goes back to the lessons on faith, because faith is an action word. It's a verb.
Yeah.
And individuals who live by faith take action to demonstrate their faith.
Exactly. And that's what it is. Going back to the must be nice thing, I'm sure someone in your life has said must be nice to you.
Yeah, must be nice. I love the people that must be nice, and they're going, when I was a young budding entrepreneur and I was starving and I was trying to make my way up and struggling and and they were my biggest critics. Now they're my biggest fans, and they're like, Bob, I always believed in you, man. I always knew you'd do it.
Well, and that's what happens is I think people forget that the must be nice attitude. You're saying that to someone who's just taking action. And instead of saying must be nice about the outcome, I want people to start getting aware of the fact that you're saying that is probably because you know that you need to be taking different actions.
Yeah.
And so if you ever feel that, and that's what I love about you is, when we got together, we immediately started collaborating and innovating and getting excited of each other's success and pushing each other. Neither one of us were like, oh, must be nice to have that. No, we were like, no, this is nice. Here, let me share it with you.
Right.
And that's the big thing is get around people who clap when you win. Get around people who want to share the opportunity and help you out. But the problem is a lot of these opportunities look like hard work. Like,
Yeah.
was it easy for me to fly on a airplane with a 2-year-old and my family and my team and all of that stuff? No, it wasn't easy. It was hard work.
Yeah.
But man, hard work pays off.
It pays off. It pays off in a big way. People ask me because they know that I worked hard for decades,
Yeah.
to achieve what I've achieved. And they say, was it worth it? I'm like, well, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, what do you
I
think?
live a life by design, not one by default. And I pity those individuals who just assign themselves to a life of mediocrity because
Yeah.
they're unwilling
Yeah.
to do the work.
Yeah.
And that goes back to that fixed mindset versus growth mindset thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that we can accomplish whatever we set our minds to within certain limits. I am never going to dunk,
Yeah.
like Michael Jordan. It's just
No.
not going to happen.
Yeah,
but
no.
but I know that the things that God plants in me as thoughts and ideas
Yes.
and hopes and dreams and goals can be achieved, or they wouldn't have found root.
Absolutely. One of the things that I always come back to is, one of my business partners comes from an incredibly wealthy family, widely considered one of the 5 most influential families in the entire world. And I'm building my business. He's one of my early investors, one of my
Yeah.
very best friends. He's sitting on the couch next to me, and I'm getting ripped apart on Twitter. Like, I can't remember what happened, but it was when I had started my recording studios. And
Yeah.
people are either saying, I can't remember which rumor this one was, but I was either a trust fund baby and it was super easy for me and my life was easy, or I was a drug dealer and that's where I got all my money to start my studios. But I'm getting ripped apart on and neither one are true. And I remember talking to him and he said, if you look up my family name, there are articles and articles and articles about my family actually being alien lizard vampires. And I looked at him and I said, you are kidding. He said, look up my last name and just type in alien lizard. And sure enough, articles and exposés and dissertations on why this family are alien lizard vampire people
Oh my
meant
goodness.
to take over the world. And then he gave me the best lesson that I've had in a long time. He said, when my grandfather came over and started this, multi-billion-dollar corporation, we started out with one motel and then kept going and kept going. And, they end up, actually we're sitting in a Hyatt right now.
Yes, we are.
His family started the Hyatt Corporation. And he said, we were persecuted by Hitler. We're a Jewish family. We're coming over. And these rumors have gone through generationally with my family. And we have had to fight off these things and actually defend ourselves against being alien lizard vampire people. And he said, the thing that taught me, and he goes, I'll never forget when my grandfather said this to me. He said, have you ever seen a family work harder than what we have done? And he said, no. Like Grandpa, you work like there's nobody's business, and the family, it's what we do. And he said, so when we came over and we started our business, the only differentiating factor between us and everyone else starting at the same time was hard work. And he said, right now we live in a day and age where it is easier for people to believe in alien lizard vampire people than hard work.
Yeah.
Literally, alien lizard vampires are more believable than hard work.
Yeah.
And so yes, the tools, the systems, the knowledge, yes, and then hard work. But you got to get around the right people. Hang out with people who say, early on when I was in Acapulco, hanging out with Bob Proctor and Mark Victor Hansen, Chicken Soup for the Soul, hang out with people like that. So if people are wondering, Greg, why are you flying down to Cancun? Because I want to have this conversation.
Right.
I want to hang out with, there's going to be a time where I'm going to get to be like, when I was hanging out in Cancun with freaking Bob Snyder, and people are going to be like, but you hung out with Bob Snyder? You got to get around those kinds of people.
You always put a smile on my face. But I always sit here and I'm like, I'm getting to hang out with Greg Kimball.
You want to hang out with people who love hanging out with, do cool things with cool people. All right, what's your one you know, where we end it, what's your one thing you want to give to, you know, someone who wants to just be a little better than they were yesterday, or something
Oh,
you
my
wish you
goodness,
would have
man.
learned, just something you want to leave people with?
You know what? I'll tell you one thing that has helped to improve the quality of my life and the quality of my production and outcome. And it's this. It's that every morning, I would challenge you, every morning, have a planning session with yourself. Every morning, plan your day, right? I mean, think about your day. You know, what do you want to accomplish? What do you want to achieve? Who are you meeting with? What goals, you know, do you need to move forward? You need to have a planning session with yourself every single morning. And then at night, every single night, you need to do an accountability review with yourself. How did I do? What transpired? What were some of the roadblocks? What were some of the things that got in my way? How can I modify that, change that to improve that so
Yeah.
that I can get better outcome tomorrow? Those things will make all the difference in the world. And the other thing, you know, when you talked about the Hyatt, there's no doubt anybody who has achieved a level of success like that, man, there is some work involved.
Yes.
But remember this, there are people in this world that work extremely hard. But what they're doing doesn't make economic sense.
Yeah, that's good.
So hard work with something that doesn't make economic sense
Yeah.
is frustrating and very unrewarding.
And so hard work, and you gotta find the leverage.
You got to find the leverage.
Like
yes.
like they
Yes.
say, you know, if you judge a goldfish by its ability to climb a tree, it's gonna spend its whole life thinking it's stupid. But man, that goldfish might be working real hard to climb the tree.
Right.
But you know, you leverage the knowledge, you leverage the relationships, the proximity, and you know, take a chance on yourself. And you know, one of the things I said in the training when I was up there helping people understand the importance of proximity was, don't get out there to try to prove the other people wrong. I want you to work hard to prove yourself right. Stop caring about the external.
Excellent. That's good.
I want you to just go out there, because you know you have dreams inside of you. And if you're interested in leveraging your time, your energy, your resources, your relationships, if you want to understand how leverage works, I want you to reach out to me. I want you to connect with us, because we've got an opportunity that might actually really be a great fit for you, so that you can leverage the right things, so you're not just working hard, because there's a huge difference between working hard and being a hard worker. And if you're a hard worker and you know how to leverage the right things, you're gonna change your life. But that planning session and the accountability, a lot of people just say write down your goals.
Right.
But they don't talk about the accountability at the end of the day. So I think that's a great, you know, closing of the loop that people need to recognize and understand. So if you're gonna write down your goals and you're gonna write down and do something for your day, have that accountability with yourself so that you can actually get it across the finish line.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
well, thank you, Bob. I appreciate you so much. Awesome.
It goes both ways. I appreciate you.
I know Bob Snyder.
I know Greg Kimball.
It's the final percent. The final percent.